Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to The Caring View, the online health and social care platform free to access to absolutely everybody. Right, before we get started, disclaimer, this is our first time using a brand new streaming site. So if things go haywire tonight, let's blame it on the last show of the year and it's almost Christmas time. So www.thecaringview.co.uk. Go visit our website, powered by Health Automated. Absolutely fab resources on there for you to access free of charge. You can access all of our podcast episodes, our recent chat shows, all of our resources, posters, find out about our suppliers, and most importantly, our sponsors. We are live tonight across LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Insta, YouTube, something else I fear I've forgotten. But if you are on socials, you'll probably be catching us somewhere. Everything we do at The Caring View is completely free to access. We will never charge you for anything. Doesn't mean that our resources are naff. It just means that we don't want to charge you £900 for them. The only way we can do this is through the generous donations and support of our sponsors. We are still open for sponsors. If you do want to sponsor us, if you see The Caring View and you think, actually, I want this show to continue and to thrive and to do more, then please do reach out to us. We would be more than happy to have a conversation. But without further ado, I'm going to do a quick roll call. So we have Prosperwell, the UK's leading digital marketing agency. If you know Toby, Smooth Toby, T-Root Toby, you will know Prosperwell. Please do go check them out. We have Care Business Associates Training. This is where I usually say Paul Blaine and his underpants. Absolutely fantastic resource for all of your health and social care training needs, especially your train the trainer needs and CHAPS training. Please do go check them out. We have Attis Care by Attis Insurance Brokers, your comprehensive care coverage and proactive risk management, but they are also a helpful voice at the other end of the line. Any problems, you can give them a call. We have Log My Care, the intuitive care management system loved by everybody, and they have a freemium version out there. So if you want to give them a try and you want to see what they're like, go and check them out. We have Florence, directly connecting healthcare professionals and organizations with shifts and training around the country. If you're fed up of agency, go check out Florence. They are the alternative to your bog standard poor agencies. Florence have you covered. We have Health Automated and Enlearningment. Health Automated, absolutely fab people. They help build our website for us. They have got wonderful AI tools out there. Mark can wax lyrical about AI and what they do. Our website is actually powered by Jack AI, part of Health Automated. And we also have UK Care Week. So go pre-register for UK Care Week 2025. We have a theatre there next year. So we've got 2 full days of content not to be missed, and you can get your tickets now. And if you work in health and social care, they are completely free. Now, usually, I would say if you've missed any of those websites, they'll be running along the bottom of the screen right now. They aren't now because we don't have enough space. Our sponsors are going across the screen, so we will make sure that we pull up our sponsors' websites again before the end of the show. So tonight, before I introduce our guests and our fabulous co-host, we are talking around, I'm going to say it, ditching alcohol. We can say reducing your alcohol intake. We can say thinking about alternatives to alcohol, but how actually going dry can refocus your mind, can do you wonders for your mind, your body, your soul, and hopefully help you enjoy life a little bit more. This is something I'm incredibly passionate about, and I'm looking forward to getting to this conversation a little bit further. But without further ado, my fabulous co-host and the mastermind of The Caring View, Mark Tops. Mark, good evening. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, not too bad. Just trying to figure out the new streaming site. I won't lie, I don't know where a clue where anything is. But yeah, no, otherwise all good. How are you?
I'm good, going smooth so far, isn't it? You've not got your Christmas jumper on, Mark. I mean...
do you know, I have a confession, and I really don't feel Christmassy. So I'm away Friday. I mean, I'm going to Lapland, so I should feel really Christmassy. Yeah. I've had decorators in. So we only put a tree up on Monday evening. I haven't got any Christmas decorations out, so I just went out and bought loads of baubles that are hideous from good old Sainsbury's. Chucked some lights around it, which are equally hideous, and I just can't get in the Christmas spirit. I mean, it might be different once I'm sat, with centre, at Lapland, but yeah, so I don't even have any Christmas jumpers at the moment. It's very sad here in the Tops household.
Are you warm white? Are you cool white? Are you multicolored? What are your lights?
Do you know what? I absolutely love multicolored. There is something about Christmas and multicolored lights. Alice won't allow it. Will not allow multicolored lights. They have to be bright white.
I'm warm white on some of my trees, but my main tree this year is multicolored with greens and reds. My bedroom tree is yellow, blues, and reds. Oh yeah, I love
I
all.
do quite like warm, like the yellowy colour with a red. But yeah, no, that wouldn't be allowed either. Would not be allowed red on the tree.
Oh, just I'm dismayed. I am dismayed. Jack, good evening. Jack, I've got Jack in my mind now. So Jack, yeah, Chris, good evening. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, warm white lights for me, by the way.
Warm white.
Yeah. And now I wish I'd have put my Christmas jumper on, so I've let the team down here because I'm actually getting into the festive spirit. Mark, Lapland. I've been to Lapland actually with my kids when they were younger. Have you got young kids? Just out of
I have. I've got 3. Yeah.
How old?
11, 9, and 7.
So there's still a bit of magic there with the younger ones. Yeah. Wow, brilliant. Yeah, amazing Lapland, amazing trip. If that doesn't get you into the spirit, I don't know what will, to be honest. I don't know what will. It's amazing. So I'm good. Thank you, Adam. And very appreciate the invite, actually. I'm looking to a topic that is very close to my heart. Obviously, we've just been having a little natter and I now realise it's very close to your own heart, which is fantastic. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it and just see where the chat takes us. So all good.
Awesome stuff. I'm also wondering in my head whether there's a strip club called Lapland anywhere, because if there isn't, they've missed a trick there. I think that's yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. Mark, maybe we should venture out into some different sort of avenues. So Chris, before we get started, tell us a bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Okay, right. Let's try and keep this as tidy and as concise as I can. So my name is Chris Howe. I am married. My wife, Jane Howe, obviously. 2 young boys, Ali at 15, 16 years, he's 15 New Year's Day, and Henry who's 12. So the magic of Christmas has shifted a little bit now they're at that age. Backgrounds, I'm 48. Background for 24 years of my life. I worked in the recruitment industry and I exited the sector last year. So actually half my life I've been worked in that industry, the last decade sort of as at director level. Lots of pressure. I know we've been chatting before the call about your work and your trials and tribulations, should we say, in your own roles and all the similar things that I'd get, when you're managing teams and you're leading people, and actually your job is to care for people. My old job was to recruit and care and manage people. Lots of similarities. Comes with a lot of pressure. Comes with a lot of pressure from customers. They were spending a lot of money with. I've worked on sort of big, high volume, high value contractual business. So I came with a lot of pressure. And what sat alongside that, ever since I was a young chap over 30 years ago, was a partying lifestyle that sat alongside. And that was a socially it was a partying lifestyle. It was a nurtured and habitual, you drink alcohol whenever you do anything social. So anything that meant fun would automatically have alcohol attached to it. And we'll get into a bit more detail on that in a sec. Weekends were party central. Anything to do with client entertainment, staff awards, parties, anything, team building, everything just had alcohol involved. So that led me to a point in 2017, October the 30th, 2017, when I banged the red button and something had to give, something needed to change. And what needed to change? I knew this for quite some time, and maybe we'll elaborate on this in a sec, but I knew for a long time that alcohol wasn't doing me any favors physically and mentally, but I just always tried to find something else, some other reason why I didn't feel so great. And that got me to the point where I had a considerable period of sobriety for over 2.5 years. And at that point was when I originally trained as a coach, which brings me to my day job now. We'll fill some of the gaps in a second, all this, otherwise I'll end up talking forever and a day. But so from last August, I trained as a coach 6.5 years ago. Last August, I launched my business on a whole-time basis and exited the recruitment sector. And I now work with my target client as a business leaders, senior execs, business owners, entrepreneurs, and a big niche of my work. And I lean into this a lot when I write my content on social media, predominantly LinkedIn, is I'm qualified to help people to be either take a break from alcohol, be alcohol free, or at least gain some control. But I also then work with people on lifestyle, their mindset, and then also business coaching as well. So I sort of straddle the two now. I work on the individual, and then I also want to see that having an impact on their their approach and their numbers ultimately, and their plans in business. So that's a short plotted history of Chris Howe. There's plenty of bits to fill in between.
No, and thank you for being so open and honest. So yeah, we were chatting before the show went live, and I think if you watch the show regularly, if you hear me talk regularly, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know I'm quite open about my sobriety. So I am just over a year, 4.5 months now. I think it is a year, 4.5 months sober. But I know exactly the date, and I think anyone who goes sober knows exactly the date they go sober. It's not a date that you forget, 3rd of August 2023, and it's a date that sticks with you. And I have a turbulent journey with alcohol, where my dad died from alcoholism, and so all through my life, my childhood, alcohol was a spotlight. The stuff that he was doing to my dad, his relationship with my mum, their divorce, and then his life after my mum, and all of that. And alcohol has always held this very negative space in my life. And whether I had a problem or not, I mean, I drank a lot, and I will say I drank a lot. Whether I drank to numb stuff, whether I drank as an excuse, whether I drank out of boredom, I drank way too much. And I think if you think you might have a problem, I would always say you probably do. And I don't like the word problem. I think the problem with it is it's sort of shameful, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. But I took the leap, and for me, it has been life-changing. And I'm very open about it, because I want to start trying to break some of these stigmas down. You know, I want to break these stigmas down of actually going alcohol-free isn't something to be ashamed of. Going sober isn't something to be ashamed of. We celebrate when people quit smoking. We celebrate when people, go on healthy eating journeys, which I've also done, and lose loads of weight to become healthier. And we think that's wonderful. The minute you tell someone that you've gone sober, oh, did you have a problem? Or, oh, was there an issue with alcohol? Or, so what do you do? Do you not have fun anymore? Or, you're not fun at parties? Or what do you do when you go out at night? And, oh, what about meals and stuff like that? And there is still a stigma actually around not drinking alcohol. It drives societies. You look at soap operas, and they all revolve around a pub. Coronation Street revolves around the Rover's Return, I think it's called. You've got Emmerdale, which is whatever that pub's called. You've got EastEnders, which is around whatever that pub's called. But the life and soul of these shows is the pub, which is alcohol. And cigarettes are banned on TV for advertising. I think gambling should be as well. But alcohol, actually, the adverts that are out there are huge and big names, and they're glamorized. And yeah, you get your little drink aware that comes up on the bottom of the screen. But actually, where are the hard-hitting adverts for that? Where are the adverts on your bottles, which shows you pictures of livers and damaged families and the hurt and the harm it causes? Now, I'm not sat here trying to convert everybody. I've got nothing against people who like to have a drink. It's your own lives. You can do what you want. There is no judgment here from me. I just want to be able to talk tonight about how it's changed my life and how it's changed my focus, and how I feel like I've become a better person through not having that cloud within my head, which is there every day. If you have a drink, whether it's 1 drink or 5 drinks or 15 drinks, there is a cloud there in your head. The worry of getting in a car in the morning, did I have too much to drink last night? Am I going to be legal in the car today? The effects that it has mentally on you, just having a drink, not even taking into account how it affects your productivity, how it affects your focus. So I'm really, Mark, I will say, and I'm probably going to get emotional for tonight's show, but Mark is a very fabulous friend of mine. I don't know whether you know him, Mark Tops. He's wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful. And when this show was booked, Mark actually reached out to me and said, look, we're doing a show on this. Do you feel comfortable talking about it? Do you want to take the night off?
Yeah.
And that's really important, to have those people around you to support you through those parts of your life, and to know actually what it means to you to be going through that. And obviously, I don't like missing the show, and I'm big enough to be able to say, no, actually, it's something that I feel like I need to do. It's probably an important part of my sobriety journey to be sat here talking about it so openly. So no, I'm really, really, really looking forward to tonight. And I've managed 3 care shows without having a drink. And for those of you who used to know me at a care show, Paul Blaine and I used to be 3 o'clock in the casino, serve anything above 0.5 ABV. I totally sort of different kettle of fish now. Mark, I know you're not the biggest of drinkers. So tonight's show, what are you wanting to get out of tonight?
For me, I think before we went live, we were chatting, and I was saying that when I joined social care, I was 17, and worked every hour that, you know, the care home, the company would give me. And I think then got into management really young at 20 and was always on call, and just always have seemed to have been on call. Less so now, but right up until kind of my current role, I mean, the care home during the pandemic, I was on call 7 days a week. There was nobody else that did it. It was always me, regardless of whether I was in the country or not. So I guess I never really got heavy into drinking, but I was making some notes, Chris, around how, you know, everything is centralized around alcohol. But even as a, you know, teenager, that's all you want to do, isn't it? You want to, and I remember going, you know, before I got into care, just go down the shop and buy something and sit in the park and drink it on the bench and stagger home. And I do often wonder now when I drive back to my parents how I made it from A to B, and you know, I didn't get abducted or killed, but that's, you know. But you are right in terms of there are a lot of comments around, oh, it's no fun if you don't drink. I mean, I do like a cocktail, I won't lie. I think everybody who knows me knows I love a cocktail. But equally, I'm like a child. Like, I'm much happier with a milkshake in my hand than I am with, you know, with any kind of alcohol. Yeah, I guess for me it's awareness, because obviously I don't have the life experiences that either of you two have, so I don't understand from that point of view. I've never been a smoker, I've never been addicted to anything, so I don't get that kind of how it hooks you, if that makes sense. Like, I'm one of these people that could, I haven't smoked for years, but I could have smoked a pack of cigarettes in a night out and then not touched one again for like a year. Like, I wouldn't get the urge. Like, I could go out tonight and get completely and utterly wasted, but then not drink again for another year. And I just, that part of me, that addiction side, I don't understand because I've never had to experience it. But majority of my friends don't drink. Like Alice, my wife, doesn't drink. So I'm not surrounded by people that are like, most of us will go down the road and, you know, have a meal or milkshake. Five Guys do really good milkshakes. Anybody needs some recommendations, I can definitely recommend. Yeah, so I guess for me it's more around awareness than anything else.
I think there's it's interesting, isn't it? When I would write this in content as well. I would class you as somebody that I would call you're quite fortunate to be in that position, that you don't have that genetic makeup where addiction can get a little bit of a grip off. So like you've just said there, you can go out and have a load of beers tonight and just not touch anything for another year. That's quite special. That's quite unique almost, really, to have that type of quality. But I think what I was listening to there is that you're surrounded by a group of people that don't drink either. And you do, you know, you'll see this all the time. You're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with them, There's definite science behind that you will be influenced quite heavily by the people that you knock around with. So it sounds as though you've found yourself in quite a nice place. And I would say to you that your natural makeup is, you know, I couldn't be more glad for you, because if you are the other side of the spectrum, it can get quite hard. I wanted to there's a couple of things that Adam had mentioned, and I think this is quite important. And because what I'd love to be able to do as part of this conversation, and people that have taken the time to sort of tune in and watch, or maybe watch it on playback, is that I really want them to try, and I want things to land for people. I really want hopefully there's things that they can take away and maybe think about. So something that you talked about, Adam, is growing up. You know, as a lad, you had alcohol around you in the household. Obviously, you've got the scenario with your dad, and that's obviously caused some quite considerable problems with the fact that your mum and dad have split up. That's going to cause more trauma for you. So there's a lot of stuff that you've got to unpack as you're getting into later life that, you know, right now, those things are going to be influencing all sorts of aspects of your life. I grew up in a loving household, and my mum and dad are still together, and they're still around, you know, so I'm lucky in that sense. But, you know, I do recall growing up 2 things distinctly as a little nipper And these are quite important because these stories, this type of thing I'm going to say, I want this to land with people, and I want them to be able to reflect for themselves, if maybe they are people that drink at home quite a bit, is that I would hear, anytime I heard laughter, so auntie and uncle had come round, friends had come round, we'd go out to the club, working men's club with my mum and dad, and alcohol was always present, and I heard fun and laughter and gregarity and noise, and everyone was having this amazing time. So as a kid, and when I say a kid, I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8, through to teenage years, I'd built up this picture of, okay, I get it. So as soon as I'm old enough, I can have a beer, I can have a drink. I hate the taste of it at the moment. When you have a sip of your dad's beer when you're about 10 or something, but I'm going to have a beer, I'm going to have a drink, and then that's how you have fun. So that was ingrained in me as I was growing up. But the flip side to that is there were times when I also heard arguments, and that would also be attached to alcohol. But it's only recently where maybe that's come to the surface a little bit more for me personally, to be honest. It's always been the fun bit. And when I think about the feeling and I'm talking now, I'm in my pajamas, I'm at the top of the stairs, and my mum and dad, they're arguing they're having a bit of a bicker, and it's getting a bit loud, and it's making me upset. And in my gut, it's churning over because I don't want to hear my parents arguing. It's making me feel virtually sick. So I'm sitting at the top of the stairs crying and sobbing, but doing it loudly as I could, knowing that once they heard me, they'd be like, oh God, kids are up. Come on, Duck, I'll come and, from Stoke, we called each other Duck. Come on, Duck, I'll put you back to bed. And that feeling as a little kid, hearing that sort of, my mum and dad arguing, and now I know there was an influence of alcohol attached to that, isn't great. And I think that's something I write a lot about this in terms of young children from the ages of sort of 4 to 8, 9, 10, sort of that particular time in their life is when they become the human being they're going to be, for life almost, really. They start to build values and beliefs and behaviors, and they learn from how their parents are behaving, of course. And it's just something I try to make sure that people understand, that when your kids see you, constantly drinking, and it's creating those bad behaviors, they will start to learn from you. And then it gets to the stage, Adam, like we've been talking about now, that it's normalized. Alcohol is normalized, and then we lean into look at how it's blooming marketed. The marketers have done an amazing job. If there's a Ukrainian vodka I've seen advertised, and if I drink it, I'm going to be like Batman. I'm going to be like Superman if I drink it. That's how I'm going to feel when I've drunk it, and that's how they've marketed the alcohol. So yes, the marketers have done a flipping great job as well in terms of getting people to feel like it's the done thing. It's obviously normalized in society, and that's another big thing as well. So that I wanted to pick up on that with you saying that, Adam, just around sort of the nurture thing as growing up. I'll stop talking for a bit, otherwise I'll keep waffling on all the time. So
no, it's so true, and I know tonight's show's about alcohol and unlocking our potential, but that nurturing applies to everything. So if you are a stickler for counting calories, I am now. I needed to. I had 7 stone to lose. I needed to do something. But I also, when I was younger, was the flip side, and I needed to put weight on, and I refused to eat. And I refused to take any sort of intake, and it got quite hairy at times when I was younger. And that, again, if you grow up in a household where people are always talking about dieting, who are always talking about how food is bad for you, who are always talking about public image, then that itself imprints on children. Now, you could be a really lucky person who, at a young age, is emotionally intelligent, is self-aware, and can deal with that a lot sooner on. Unfortunately, I'm like a cacophony of just tragedy and woe me, because all the way through my childhood as well, I was battling my homosexual orientation. And when I was younger, I knew from the age of 6 that I was gay. So imagine little old me, 6-year-old, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to grow up to be fat. Alcohol ruins lives. And I'm also gay and my family are going to hate me. So I had a lot of that sort. And I'm still unpacking a lot of that trauma today. I'm still unpacking and becoming more self-aware as much as I can do today. The hardest part I've found on this journey, Chris, is facing those traumas and actually thinking about the hardest part is wanting to change. The hardest part is recognizing that actually I can't go to bed until that bottle of wine's finished, because lo and behold, I have to put a bottle of wine in the fridge for the next day. And then I'm already thinking, but then I'm already drinking wine the following day. So if I drink it all today, I won't drink tomorrow, and I'll have that bottle of wine tonight. And the hardest part of all of this is getting over your internalized shame and going, actually, I want to change for me. I want to do better for me. It isn't for anybody else. It's not to make my partner happy. It's not to make my family happy. It's to make me happy. And if I'm happy, other people should be happy around me. And if other people aren't happy with how I'm happy, then I need to reevaluate other areas of my life. And, fortunately, me going sober has just made our relationship even stronger. I mean, me and my partner have been together 14 years.
Yeah.
And this last year and a half has probably been the strongest year and a half we've had. I mean, we still have rows. Just can't blame it on the alcohol now. There's got to be something else. Got to be something else that's brewing with them, because he doesn't drink either. But it's understanding that turmoil. I mean, bringing it on to focus of the show, one of the things I'd love to discuss is around how alcohol clouds us as a person, and how it's not necessarily the act of drinking, but the aftermath of it that causes those issues. So if there was an audience here, I would say hands up if you've ever gone into work hungover. If you've gone into work the next day with a thick head and you in your breath, God, I stink of alcohol. I had way too much to drink last night. And keep your hands up if you had a productive day that day. And the majority of hands would probably go down. If we were honest with ourselves, our hands would go down. And I have definitely found since going sober that my days are a lot more productive now. And I might not do everything I want to do in a day, but I know that I've done it with the clearest judgment. I know that I've done it with the clearest mindset. I've woken up in the morning and I'm raring to go. I'm not lagging behind. And I've got that focus that I need to do. So from your perspective, Chris, if we're talking about sort of enhancing clarity and performance, what are some of your observations around how reducing the alcohol intake can benefit us with our mindsets like that?
Yeah, this is a very topical one this year. I've co-authored a book this year actually called Peak Performance Mindset Tools for Managers, and my contribution was around alcohol, and I also weave that into growth mindset as well, just because I believe there's a link in terms of alcohol consumption and a fixed mindset. But if we look at specifically how reduction in alcohol impacts productivity, and I look at productivity in business, at work, clients I work with, we're looking at their life and their business, and what I typically see. So the science says that when you drink alcohol, you are going to find that your cortisol levels are going to increase the following day while your body's actually working to process that alcohol. It has a bit of an internal battle with your nervous system, and as I said, your cortisol levels, they'll raise, and actually your body will be operating at a much higher base level of stress. Things like your heart rate variability are going to suffer. So, and that then impacts the quality of your sleep. And that then means that not only are we've got the after effects of alcohol, we're hungover, we're dehydrated, we've had poor sleep, we're not waking up. I mean, I use a Whoop band to monitor things, so it's recovery for me in the next day, or I think some of the Garmin uses battery life, for example. And you then start your day completely and utterly on the back foot because of all of those things. Your stress levels are raised. It then starts to mean that you don't necessarily react and deal with issues, problems, or challenges in as effective way as you would do, as if your stress levels were a lot lower. I'm sure the people that had got the hands up in your scenario, Adam, I'm quite sure if you spoke to them and asked, did you snap at anyone? Were you ratty with the kids? Did you have a bit of a bust up with your partner? I'm pretty confident there'll still be quite a few hands staying up. So ultimately, and I see this is a personal thing. I know you'll echo the same sort of thing, Adam, but also with the work I've done with clients, it's very consistent in terms of the changes that people will see when they ideally cut out alcohol for a period of time. So I call it a tactical break, and I would say a minimum of 30 days. Utopia is that you actually stop drinking alcohol for 12 months as minimum. And the reason I think 12 months is a good point is that you do a full cycle of the year. Holidays, birthdays, hen do's, stag do's, whatever it is, all the celebrations that you go through that you normally have a drink at, is you do them through a sober set of eyes, and it starts to allow you to see what the other side looks like. And what I see every time someone reduces their alcohol intake, or actually, indeed, more importantly, takes a tactical break initially, their sleep dramatically improves. And it's not just the sort of the length of sleep, it's more about the quality. It's the deep and REM sleep that we're chasing here, to make sure that there's an adequate quota of that in your sleep, because that then drives how you're going to feel the next day: fired up, pumped up, recovered, battery life is where it needs to be. You'll feel more clear, you'll feel more focused, you will be more productive, you're going to be less ratty, you're going to be less stressed. I've got one of my clients, the worst case of anxiety, post-alcohol anxiety that I've ever come across, as in would not go into the office, would actually cancel client meetings if he'd had a drink the night before, because his anxiety levels increased that much. He's not drunk now for, he's probably up to about 8 months, 7 or 8 months now, and just night and day in terms of the bloke I started working with to where he is now. It's unbelievable. And I think there's a choice to make here, and it gets really interesting when you start to work with people around alcohol. It's really interesting the amount of times that I've been asked, well, what am I going to do for fun if I don't drink alcohol? And it's a really common question I get asked. Now, when I get asked that, I sort of affirm it, but I'm thinking there's loads you can do if you don't have a drink. There's loads you can do. But when you're in the mix of drinking regularly, it's quite hard to see past that, because everything you do, come back to what I was saying about the nurturing, it is attached to fun. But when you've had a period of sobriety, and do dry January, we've got 2 weeks today, and we're going to trip into January. My advice would be to anyone listening to this that's curious, do dry January. In fact, do you know what? Start tomorrow and kick in right now, and get to the end of January and see how you feel, because this is the thing that I need to get my clients latched onto. The ones that everyone I work with isn't alcohol, not everybody, but there's a proportion that are. And first of all, we're locking into the consequence of having a drink. So the hangover, the anxiety, the stress, the lack of productivity, and feeling shite, let's be honest. But when you drink regularly and your tolerance level of alcohol is actually quite strong, you can function with all that going on, and it feels normal. I remember, this level of stress that I carried all the time, I just normalized it, because it's how I always felt. However, once you've cleared the system down and you've had that period of time and not drinking, and then you start to feel how much better you feel with your sleep, how much calmer you feel, how much more patience you've had with the kids, and I'll touch on that in a second from a personal experience, and then how much more effective you feel at work, how relationships improve, as you've mentioned with your partner, Adam, but I think in a work environment. And think about the care sector. Your people in the care sector, the amount of patience that you need to have with your patients, you've got to be a level-headed. I've seen years gone by, a couple of shocking stories that have come out of the sector, where people have not necessarily been as patient as they should have been with ill patients, and I know people that work in the care sector. The cousin and a couple of cousins work in the care sector, another one in the NHS. So, and I know the pressures it comes with as well. And drinking regularly alcohol isn't going to help you in your job in a care working environment, whether you're hands-on with people and patients, or whether you're actually further up the food chain, such as you guys, and you're actually managing the teams that are doing that. So it's really about getting yourself to a place that you can start to touch and feel some of the positives that come from not having alcohol in your system. And what you said, Adam, was absolutely spot on. The biggest decision, the bravest decision is, I know this is a problem now, and I need to do something about it. And just on patience, because I wanted to just link this into a personal story. It's relating to my lads. I'd stopped drinking, and around the sort of 42, 45 day mark, when I originally stopped drinking in 2017, I had this little magical moment where I was like, wow, you know, I'm functioning with alcohol. This is great. And there was like a real sort of magical, almost eureka moment. And I was sitting with my son, and he was only, what was he, four and a bit at the time. So your bedtime stories, you know, these little big textbooks, sort of book I like reading, to be fair, quite easy, aren't they? And I sat there, and he'd got a little clock on his wall, and so we're sitting reading, and we do one and we do another, and he's just dead engaged with these books, you know. And I looked up at the clock and thought, bloody hell, I've been here for 2.5 hours here and not bat an eyelid. Whereas historically, half an hour and I'm twitching to get downstairs so I can, you know, get a glass of wine. And I'll be honest, and I write about this quite a lot, is that, and I say it in videos I post, is that I was a little bit embarrassed about that, to be honest. I was thinking, you know, shit, pardon my French, you know, like, I can't believe how I never neglected my lads, so probably not best to use that word, but how I neglected time with my kids. That's what I was doing.
Not being as present.
Yeah, like, but I didn't realise that when I was drinking regularly, because it didn't register. There's almost, I think, when you're drinking regularly, I think it creates a little bit of ignorance, to be honest with you, to certain things. And you don't want to see things. You don't want to accept. And that's why when people are told by their partner, for example, I think you're drinking too much, they get to act quite defensive and don't like it, because it's quite a hard conversation to have. But my point being with this is that it was only when I'd had this bit of this initial, I just cracked on with having a period of not drinking at all. And then I was looking back, and it's then when you can start to latch onto your true behaviours when you're drinking. And then you can start making informed choices. And my choice at that point in time was, I'm going to keep going with this, like you are going to keep going with this, because I'm quite enjoying it, you know. And that was that. So and then, but when you start to latch onto the positives, it's then when you can start to realise how much of an impact it can have on your abilities, not just you know, not in life, but around work and business as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that, Chris, because it's hard to relive those times where we've not been our best selves, and it's hard to sort of talk about them out. Just going back to your chap who said, you know, what am I going to do for fun? The thing that I found is I've found out so much more about myself since giving up alcohol, because, you know, you'd have a couple of drinks and then, you know, oh, well, we've had too many to drink. I'm not going to do that now. I'll do that tomorrow because I've had a couple of glasses of wine. But now, actually, my hobbies have increased. My time out the house have increased. My TV time has reduced. I spend so little time watching television now. It's incredible, because I'm awake. And the stuff that I want to explore, the stuff that I want to do, my relationship with my nieces and nephews, we don't have children of our own yet. If you're listening, Stephen, I'm still on this. You know, I've got the adoption books in my bedside cabinet. We don't have children of our own, but my relationship with my nieces and nephews has increased tenfold. You know, I'm able to be more present with them, and partly because I've lost a load of weight now and I'm a lot more energetic, but I can do more with them, like take them swimming, and we can go out and not think about having to have a drink. And, you know, when they're around at my house, I'm not waiting for them to go to bed so I can have a glass of wine when they've gone to sleep. And, you know, all of that's gone. So instead of, you know, wanting them to go to bed for, say, 10:30, they are only young, by the way, we now stay up till midnight and there are no issues. And that element of having fun actually comes naturally through all of the other areas of your life, and it's a really, really, pardon the pun, sobering experience to go through, because you do get to realize a lot more of yourself. Mark, I'm going to bring you in because I'm conscious we're doing all of the talking. Any questions from yourself or any sort of observations from yourself?
No, I was just writing bits down. I mean, firstly, Adam, don't adopt kids. Enjoy it. No children. I love my 3, but yeah, anybody of those child-free life.
I was thinking of my Christmas tree and all the glass ornaments on it, thinking, oh, I don't know.
Well, yeah, ours always used to be glasses, yeah, but they're long gone. In terms of reducing alcohol consumption, should you find something to replace that with? So obviously, Adam, you were doing it alongside a journey of weight loss and transforming yourself and life. So you had that focus there as well. Obviously, if you're already into fitness, you've already got your career, you already kind of know what you want and where you are, but you think, actually, I want to reduce my alcohol, I want to stop. Is there a risk that actually you become fixated on something else? Should you become fixated on something else to help remove that kind of urge to drink alcohol? I mean, Chris, I'll come back to you because
yeah, okay. So there's a bit more to consider here. So when from personal experience and work with clients, sometimes just cutting back isn't actually going to work. It's not actually achievable for some people. I was one of them. It wouldn't work. It just wasn't possible. So then, and I would make a judgment call with a client once I'd got under the skin of the client and I understood their habits and how much they were drinking and from language they were using and how they were talking, I'd get a pretty good feel for whether I felt they were in a position just to trim back a little bit, or where actually, obviously, if you're going to ask me for advice, which is what you've come to me for, I think we need to have a break. There are, and that varies person to person. I don't bang the drum to say you must be sober, but I am extremely passionate about people taking a tactical break. I think that's what everybody should do, but not everybody comes to me and necessarily wants that in the first instance. So I go through a process with my coaching and we have a little merry dance around, okay, so you've carried on drinking and your plan was, so there was a plan to, you were going out on Friday night with some clients and the plan was you were going to meet later and you were going to have 2 drinks and that was all it's going to be. And then I have a meeting with them in my session and it was 5 beers, Chris, and 2 glasses of wine. Okay, well, we've not done very well there, have we, in terms of the plan? And I'll bounce through a process with that client and start to get to a point for them to self-reflect and actually start thinking, yeah, this is not quite working. We need to do something different. So, because I can't tell somebody what to do, I have to be able to get them to realize what they need to be doing. In terms of other things replacing alcohol, yeah, that can happen. Yeah, that can happen. Chocolate is quite sugar. It's quite a popular one. To be honest, to the sort of that somebody will ditch alcohol and then all of a sudden their sugar intake can go higher. If they're a smoker, sometimes the smoking can increase a little bit as well. We're all tapping into the same sort of place in the brain when you're looking at the addiction. I remember I gave up smoking out years and years ago, and I had a tablet called Champix that stopped your brain receiving the nicotine. Did not want to drink at all when I was taking those tablets. So clearly that it's the same neck of the woods that all these addictions come from. However, think about, this is how I'd like to reframe this. When you talk about people having an addictive personality, there's a bit of science in the whole addiction thing, of course, and an addictive personality is a slightly lame way of explaining it. However, let's just use that terminology for the time being. Someone that Adam, you've spoken that we've spoken that we've got that addictive personality in inverted commas. But those addictions can be channeled in different ways. What if we could find ourselves becoming addicted to eating well? What if we could find ourselves addicted to, calorie counting can get a bit obsessive. I've done that myself and it can become obsessive, but it's a good addiction to start working on as long as it doesn't go too far. Get addicted to training, get addicted to the gym. There's lots of other things that you can occupy yourself with and get hyper focused on and obsessed with, or whatever word you choose to use rather than addiction. So, and that's a big part of the process. Is what we're trying to do here is the crappy habits that people have had, me included, Adam included on the same thing. Beer, wine, TV, slouched, doing nothing, can't be arsed, not going anywhere, going to bed after this, up in the morning, we do it all again. What we're trying to do is, when you will find by relinquishing, if you just have a tactical break and don't drink alcohol, what you'll find is like this, you just get gifted an unbelievable amount of time. And Adam's already just been speaking about it now, like it's ridiculous. If you think that, let's just say you're on the road in a role within the care industry, and let's just say you're out the house for 12 hours a day, for argument's sake. Yeah, so we're going to do 60 hours out of the week, and then let's just say we're going to get home at 6, half 6, get in, bit of food, and then if you're going to start having a drink or two, there is no spare time in an evening. It's gone, it's done. But without the drink, there is time to go for a walk, get the dogs out, maybe get the pond. Let's go and get some fresh air. Let's debrief on the day. Let's cook some food together. Let's go to a yoga class. Let's go to the gym together. Let's go for a run, whatever it's going to be. And it's really about unpicking those rather unhealthy habits that do come with a life that's revolving around alcohol, because you probably won't eat the best a lot of the time. You're training. I used to train quite a lot, but I trained to compensate for the calories I was going to drink. But it's really about then overhauling lifestyle routines and habits so that you're actually filling the time that you create by not filling it with alcohol and filling it with more valuable, more healthy choices. Basically, is what the way I'd put it. Does that answer what your query, Mark, and what you were thinking?
Yeah, no, definitely. And as you were just talking there at the end, I was thinking you probably have to overhaul kind of the routines that you've got yourself in, because like you said, Adam, actually you found yourself watching less TV. Actually, that's just part of the routine, presumably, that because you were drinking, that you just got into. And I think it wasn't alcohol related, but during the pandemic, I found that actually me and my wife used to just put the kids to bed, watch TV all evening. Actually, during the COVID, I didn't watch TV really at all, unless it was to watch Adam or somebody that I knew kind of on BBC News or Channel 4 or doing whatever. But actually found that, and we, afterwards got rid of Sky, we never went back to that kind of routine that we once had. So, yeah, I guess it's trying to find something else that you can do, so you don't slip back into. And I guess you've obviously got to then just be honest with everybody about what you're actually doing. And it's probably harder. I mean, Adam, you're obviously in a fortunate position that Stephen doesn't drink, but if Stephen did drink and then you had bottles of whatever lying around the house or whatever, actually it probably would have made that journey for you a lot harder.
Yeah, I really resonate and agree with what Chris has said, and it's about finding those other things in life. So for me, my mindset was, what do I want to achieve? And it was to become happier. And how am I going to do that? What is it that I can do that will make me happier? And that's the stuff. And I'm still working on it. My partner is an holistic therapist, so meditates loads, does loads of sort of well-being stuff. I don't meditate half as much as I probably should do. I don't do most of what he does, and he's incredible at that sort of self-care and self-love and self-repair. And there is this, for me, it's getting over so you have a bad day, you come home and you have to have a crux to get over it. And it's around understanding that actually you don't need a crux to get over a bad day. To get over a bad day, you need to face the day for what it is, park it, and then also enjoy your life as well, because work is work and life is life. And Mark, you introduced me to a life-work balance rather than a work-life balance. And it's about putting your life first. And, I've had really naff days, and I could have come home. And so my mindset now is I went shopping tonight for dinner, had a naff day today, and I thought, I've not, because I've cut out pasta, I've cut out rice, I've cut out potatoes, I've cut out bread, we've gone gluten-free at home, so I don't have carbs at all pretty much now in my life, because they lay heavy on me, and it's, they're not satiating, and it's all that added calories for no reason. And I thought to myself, driving up to the supermarket, I'm going to have a pizza tonight. I'm going to treat myself to a pizza. I'm really looking forward to it. And I walked out of the supermarket with a bag of sprouts and a pack of veg. And I came home and I made myself a gluten-free chicken pie, which was low calorie, and had a load of veg. I'm very satiated right now. But my process in my head when I'm going around the supermarket is, do you really want that? Or is the reason that you're having that to try and make yourself feel happier for the day you've had? And will it make you feel happy? Or will you regret that afterwards, which will put you into more of a downward spiral because you've had enough day and you've just eaten a pizza because of it. And then you want to blame the pizza for making you unhappy when actually it's a choice you've made. So all of that now goes through my head. And I think, no, I'm going to get some more veg. I'm going to have quite a lot of fiber. I'm going to have a healthy-ish sort of dinner. It's an easy dinner. I'm not making it from scratch. But actually, it's going to do me better than having a pizza, which is 2,000 calories, to having a dinner, which is 600 calories. And that's actually, I feel much better now tonight, because I know that, Stephen's just come home, we're baking a cake after the show. Again, spending time together, doing stuff together, which is what we wouldn't have done originally. But I know that if we do watch an episode of Black Doves tonight, which, by the way, I recommend to anyone, it's on Netflix. If you love a thriller, it's fantastic. I might have a Ferrero Rocher while we do it, but a Ferrero Rocher, not 5 or 6. But I don't feel guilty having that because I've made all of those wise choices up to that point, and I'm allowing myself those treats. So what I don't want to do is deny myself anything in life. I'm just thinking around, how do I not become fixated on anything else that's bad for me, when actually what I need to fixate on is becoming more self-aware. I need to be able to go, why do I feel down? Why do I feel sad? And I always remember a colleague of mine whom I did a couple of sessions with, and I used to say, oh, do you know what? They really get me angry. And it's like, they don't get you angry. It's like, no, they do. They get me really mad. It's like, no. They make you think things, and your thoughts then change your emotions. They can't control your emotions. They can't control your thoughts. You control your thoughts, and your thoughts create your emotions. And I know this is a very sort of arrogant way to look at things, but I am very much now in my life, I am not going to allow that person to change my thoughts. I am in control of my thoughts, and that will change my feelings. And that's the process that I'm going through now. I'm failing today. I'm struggling today because I am today. But actually, I know that later on tonight, I'll have a chat with Stephen. We'll talk things through, and I'll go, do you know what? Actually, yeah, I'm not going to let it bother me. I know I'm doing the best that I can do. That's all that really matters to me, is to achieve everything as a team and to be the best that I can be. So I'm not going to let that get me down. So I'm not going to have 3 Ferrero Rochers. I might actually have a protein yogurt instead, actually, because it's the same amount of calories as 2 Ferrero Rochers, but less sugar, less fat, and better for me. Ultra processed, but so is a Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at on my journey at the moment.
Yeah. I think that that's quite. I've just started to really get into Stoic philosophy, actually, and what you just said there is that you're leaning into that quite a lot. I love that sort of thing, and I'm
not entitled to anything, and that's the biggest thing. And sorry to interrupt you there, Chris, because you mentioned Stoicism. Now, it's that mentality that in life, I've put all of this in and I've got nothing back for it. So what? In life, you are not entitled to anything, and I've started to understand that now, that no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work, I can't get anything for free. If things happen, they happen. If they don't, they don't. And I've got to be okay with that. As a person, I have to be. If there's unjust and there's unfairness, you've got processes you can go down. But just to expect life to give because you want it to won't get you anywhere.
It's interesting that there's a few bits in there you just said. And I want to lean on something just on the having a bad day thing. I just want to, and I want to go back to alcohol just for a second, because this is really important. I spoke about the fact that your body increases its level of stress when you're into processing alcohol. That's science. That's what happens. So, what a lot of people do is when they've had a busy day or a bad day, or it's been a hard day, or I've had a tough day or a challenging day or whatever it is, and I feel stressed or I feel down, a bit flat, lonely, whatever negative emotion you get, actually attaching alcohol to that it will become a bit of a slippery slope. If you're choosing to use alcohol to constantly numb negative emotions, there's a real problem, to the point now that I know if I'm stressed, to then even consider alcohol, it's like two magnets at the opposing ends. It's like pushing two of them together. Feeling stress, and even considering a cocktail like Mark would say, no chance. Whereas a lot of people will do the opposite thing, and they will use alcohol to deal with stress. They've got problems at work, they've got a problem in relationships, having a real hard time with a colleague or a boss or whatever it is, and use alcohol to numb that pain. And that's a problem. And I'm sharing that because I've seen it time and time again. It becomes a real slippery slope. And the problem is, if you've got a problem and you choose to numb the feeling of that problem in an evening by having a few glasses of wine or a few beers, that problem whilst you're asleep is going to be outside doing press-ups and star jumps and squat jumps and thrusters, ready to come back at you in the morning, stronger, tougher, and even more difficult for you to manage, because you're going to wake up in the morning with a high level of stress, feeling like shit, hungover, poor sleep, not clear, and all of a sudden you head back into another day. Well, that problem's still there, but it's going to feel a lot worse. And what you were talking about there, Adam, which really takes the whole self-development thing on a notch or two. I read a couple of books that helped me with that sort of mindset, where I I was reacting and choosing to respond to situations in my opinion, not the right way, defensively, antagonistically, with emotion, with negative emotion, with fiery emotion, with a bit of anger, with a bit of envy, a bit of all those jealousy, envy, all those horrible emotions that you can get. I've read a couple of books actually. One was The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve, what's his surname? Peters, yeah, and The Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck, and both of them really sort of helped me with that whole, you're not suppressing emotion because you've got to let emotion out at some point, but it's not letting that emotion, that monkey in the pit of your stomach, you're not allowing it then to allow, for your brain to be reacting and responding in a more emotional way rather than a thoughtful human way. And then that all then starts to weave its way into then decisions that you make. So like you've just said then, what do I do tonight? One Ferrero Rocher, great, nothing wrong with that. Nice little treat while I watch another episode of Dust. The full box, not ideal. It's not the end of the world, by the way, but not ideal. But if you're doing that to, ponder and on the day that's been, because it's been just a tough day for you, a great analogy from a coach I've worked with, and I really like it. So if you're driving down the road and you have a blowout on one of your tires, okay, so you pull over. So that's the one Ferrero Rocher. Yeah. The box basically means you're going to get a knife out of the glove box and puncture the other 3 tires, just so that's it now. I couldn't drive anyway, so I'm definitely not going to be driving now. But you wouldn't do that, would you? You wouldn't go and do that. So why would you then go and on this sort of self-sabotage, self-destruct mission when there's no real point? All right, so you didn't meditate this morning. Okay. You had 2 Ferrero Rocher instead of 1. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just dust yourself down, crack on, and you're on to another day. So where you're at, Adam, you're actually quite far into this whole self-development thing, because the stuff you're working on there's game-changing stuff, that, to be honest, because once you can master that in a stoic way, you're onto something, because then life becomes less of a roller coaster. Still a roller coaster, because you're going to have your ups and your downs, but you don't scream every time you go down,
There is something about this though, Chris, and for anyone who's sat here pondering, actually, do you know what, I might give this a go. I might do the dry January. I might take a 12-month break. I might start looking into self-development and becoming more self-aware. There is an element of not everyone around you is going to get it, and not everyone around you will accept it. And that's something you need to know, because I will say there have been people in my life whilst I've started on this journey who I don't really talk to that much anymore, because not because I don't want to, but because when I talk to them, they don't understand where I'm at in life. So we will have conversations, and so, for example, we would go out for a coffee, or we would chat on the phone, and those conversations would always be very negative. They would be, my day's terrible, I can't do this is rubbish, this is bad. And I'd be going, look, I'm hearing that. And not to sound inconsiderate here, or to sound like I'm not taking on board what you're saying. I don't need to listen to this negativity, and I don't think you need to be that negative. I think we can be more positive. So, like, if I talk to colleagues now and they go, "Oh God, it's going to be such a bad day today," and it's like, no, you created that. Let's say, actually, today is going to be a really good day. Let's have an affirmation. Let's do an affirmation. We are going to have a positive day today. No matter what it throws at us, we will find a way to overcome it. We will problem solve, and we're going to go home having achieved something. Not everything, because if we say we're going to achieve everything and we don't, we're going to beat ourselves up. But we'll achieve something by the end of the day. Let's be positive. And I think some people take it the wrong way, as if you don't care about how bad the days are. And I'm not saying that. I'm listening to how you are, but I'm also telling you that I'm doing a lot of work on myself at the moment, that negativity actually is an energy sap.
Yes.
That takes away from me. Like, if we go out for lunch with friends and everyone's really negative, I will be looking at my watch to think, can we go home yet?
Yeah.
Because I don't need to be around this.
Yeah.
Because this is damaging to my soul. This is damaging to the work that I've done. And it's not just about giving up alcohol or chocolate or crisps or any of that, or smoking. Sometimes it's actually about giving up some of your social circle to benefit yourself as well. And that's not about becoming a hermit, because I've actually made probably twice more friends now than I did that I've lost, if that makes sense. Because there are more people out there who get it, and it is really difficult, and it is hard. It is really hard. And I'm not saying that I get it right all the time. By God, no. By all means, I am not sitting here going, "Oh, look at me, the poster child of sobriety." Not at all.
Yeah.
Like, I get it wrong so much. I still roll my eyes and I huff and I tut, and I still get negative, and I've still got negative body language that I have that I'm trying to work on. But it is something that, I mean, I gave up social media pretty much, which I know Mark hates the fact, because I do nothing for the Caring View now on social media. And I try, Mark has to remind me every Saturday, can you go please invite people to the show on Tuesday? And I'm like, yes, I'm going there now. Because I found a lot of social media negative, and that impacted me. And that changed the way that I looked at things, because I'm like, oh, I've been on there for 10 minutes. That's wound me up. I've seen that, and that stressed me out. Has it wound me up? Have I got myself wound up? Why have I allowed myself to think that? And it does come across, and I can understand how it comes across as arrogance, this area of sort of self-awareness, but you have to voice it out sometimes so that you know you're still on that track, and you know you're still in the right way. And my relationship with my family's gotten better, and to the point where Mum and I used to have arguments all the time, because she's very she's a Tory, which I don't mind. You know, you're allowed your political opinions and your political views. I have no issues. But I used to let it wind me up.
Yeah.
And I used to let the things she says stress me out. And now I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
That's your existence. And I'm happy for you, but it's not my existence. And nor am I letting it into my existence to change how I feel. And I don't feel the urge anymore now to go and have a glass of wine. I have not, and I will say, hand on heart, I have not for the last 9 months considered a drink at all. For the last 9 months. So it took what, 7-8 months to get to that, but for the last 9 months, I haven't even thought about it. You know, I've been to parties, I've been to pubs, I've been to family gatherings, I've had a birthday, for crying out loud, and well, 2 birthdays. Well, no, first birthday being sober, and I've not even considered it. And that is game changing. And for me, because I know we're coming towards the end of the show, and Chris, I'm going to connect with you after this, because this has been so nourishing tonight. I'm trying not to get. I'm a very emotional person anyway. I'll probably get to, it's a crying episode. Put him on mute. But there's something about being proud of yourself and about what you've achieved, and whether anyone around you notices it or not, doesn't matter. You're not doing it for people to notice. You're not doing it for people to go, oh, well done. Don't you look great? I mean, it's nice. I try not to have an ego anymore. It's difficult, especially when people go, God, don't you look amazing now? And, oh, you really suit your hair. And, oh, you've done so much work. It feels nice, but I park that now and go, but am I happy? So you're happy with me, which is great. But am I happy? Because that's the most important thing now. Yes, me and Stephen are in a relationship for life, and we're getting married, and it's exciting. But actually, I'm not doing it to make him happy anymore. I started out like that. I'm going to give up alcohol because that will make Stephen happy, and it will make my family happy, and blah 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 blah. Because even then, I couldn't admit that I had an issue, because I was trying to figure out an excuse as to why I'm doing it. People think I've got a problem, so I'm going to stop drinking, and they'll stop thinking I've got a problem. And then you stop drinking, and you go, crap. I have a problem. Like I have a real issue with alcohol. I need to work through this. And that journey I've now gone, actually, I'm happy that you're happy now, Stephen, but actually I'm happy that I'm happy, and I love me now, and I love the person I'm becoming, and I love that I'm more hyper-focused. I love that I'm more self-aware, and I love feedback. So, my directors will go, Adam, I think you could have done it better. I think you could have done it this way. I think when you responded, you could have done that differently. And do you know what? I go, do you know what? You're right. I probably could have done. And it's going back to what you're saying, Chris, around reducing the alcohol. Actually, I've always prided myself on having a growth mindset, but reducing the alcohol sort of unlocks the door a bit more. And your soul just goes like this, and it's like, tell me more, teach me more.
Yeah. I think with because I've done it, and I like so what you've just said there, I'm proud of the fact that I dug myself out a bit. I used a coach, so but that's fine. But I dug myself out of a pretty dark space, really. I've come out the other side, and I've learned so much about myself. So the work you've done, whilst you're not looking for validation, subconsciously you probably are, by the way, but it's something that if if you drink, like so Mark, for example, Mark can take it or leave it, no problem at all. But Mark might not quite comprehend the work that you have to do to dig yourself out of that hole. But I think it's something that people should be really, really super proud of what they've achieved and what they've done for them, because the ripple effect is, and bring it back to the sort of theme on the show, is that not only will you significantly change your own mindset, your own behaviors, your own stress levels, how you look, how you feel, your performance in work, relationships, your sleep, everything. People are going to tell you look better. You look less tired. You'll get all those sort of comments. But I think that the big thing is that it's like a ripple effect with people around you as well, because, and I believe this is that, someone that does address an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, once they've done the work on themselves, quite selfishly, you need to do that work on yourself first, or everyone else around you benefits. And I think that's a big thing. That's kids, that's family, that's partners, that's bloody husbands, that's wives, that's bloody dogs, it's cats. The dogs don't get booted as much anymore. Just everything around you will significantly change. And ultimately, there's no doubt, because I've not met nobody who has addressed a relationship with alcohol and then said, I don't feel any better for it and I don't feel like it's made any positive changes to my life. Everyone that's has gone through the process of chopping alcohol out of their life has always commented on the positive influence and impact it's had on them and those around them. So that's why I advocate it. That's why I bang a bloody big old drum about it, because I know it's a considerable problem in a lot of industries, care being one, recruitment being another, insurance being another, banking being another, construction being another. It's effectively pick an industry and there'll be a legal another, so yeah, fundamentally, anyone that's listening to this is that, that you'll make your own choice on what your long-term relationship with alcohol looks like. Does that mean that you never ever drink again? Doesn't have to. I'll be honest, you will be at your healthiest if you do not drink any alcohol at all. You will. But, they're right here, right now. There's a way, in my opinion, of creating balance. I feel somebody like Mark has almost got like the utopia of balance, very much a take it or leave it attitude. But if you're a regular drinker of alcohol right now, just to revert and become a Mark Tops isn't very easy. Actually, what you need to do is you need to be an Adam and a Chris in the first instance, and then take a decision on whether you feel alcohol needs to reappear in your life or not. And if it does, yeah, good for you, no problem. But you'll be in a much, much, much better position to make a more conscious and informed choice, and make sure you maintain and keep control, because that's the important thing. So last thing I'll say, this is my own attitude, but the work I've done, is alcohol used to have control of me. It did, I couldn't take it or leave it. It was just take. This wasn't AM drinking and things like that, by the way. It was just evenings and weekends. But I have control now, and that's it, but that takes a long time to get to that point.
100% agree. And you'll find, most people that I've spoken to who have gone sober who've not even considered going back, who've not even considered thinking, I might try and have an extra drink. And if anything, it makes going out for dinner so much cheaper.
Yeah.
£30 a bottle of wine at dinner. Wow, hey, it's mad. Get an extra pudding or something like that. Use your money wisely. I suppose the last thing for me, and I suppose for managers listening to this is, I'm probably going to give you all panics now, because you've probably all done your hampers for raffles and everything like that, and they've all gone out. But I tend to see loads of hamper raffles being done for team members in workplaces, and there's a bottle of wine in there, maybe a bottle of gin, box of chocolates, a cake, something else that might be in there. Have we ever stopped to think that actually we're encouraging those bad habits within our team as well? And as managers and as leaders, should we not be providing better alternatives? And I know it sounds less fun, and I know it sounds a little bit grinchy, but for someone like myself, if I go to a raffle, and actually this is something we don't talk about much, us sober people, is doing a raffle is a potluck now of risk, because do I get the raffle ticket that gives me the soft teddy, or do I win the bottle of Baileys? And if I win the bottle of Baileys, what the hell do I do with it? Because I'm not going to drink it. And actually, should we as now leaders be thinking, right, do you know what, for my team, I'm going to put together a self-care hamper. I'm going to put stuff in there that is going to, maybe it's a coaching book, maybe it's some essential oils, maybe it's a meditation guide, maybe it's a book of affirmations for 365 days of the year so they can rip an affirmation out every day. Actually, will that do them more benefit than adding to, because we already provide them the stress as their managers. We already provide the stress. Do we then want to go, I'm sorry you can't cope with us, here's some alcohol and chocolate? Or do we want to go, we're sorry that you get this stress, however, we are thinking about you, and we try throughout the year, but win this hamper or have this hamper because it's going to benefit you, and hopefully it will give you some tips and stuff to work on. And if you're a manager that thinks like that, chances are your work environments, the stress isn't coming from you, it's coming from other places, because you are already conscious about your team's well-being. Mark, I feel like we've hijacked tonight's show and you've been along for the ride, and I do apologise, but any sort of parting words from yourself about tonight or for people listening?
No, I think even though I've been quiet, I think it's been really good, and I don't feel like I should be contributing because I don't know about the subject in terms of that lived experience. So my questions would have been very kind of mundane. Tell me about, like, it wouldn't have added any value, I don't think. So I think, firstly, from a HR point of view, I was always told you shouldn't be buying alcohol for your staff. But, you know, if you want a present for your staff, just get a personalised Emma Bridgewater mug. Works every time. Everybody loves a personalised Emma Bridgewater mug, telling you. No, I think something that you touched on that I think a lot of people will struggle with is being selfish in terms of saying no. You know, actually, if they are going to go out, you know, to the pub, actually saying that you don't want to go out. Actually, if your partner wants to, you know, do what. I think I'm very good at being selfish. Like Christmas Eve, my wife and the kids are going, like, I don't want to go. Like, actually, I'd rather just go to bed early with a tub of Nutella. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm very good at saying no. Like, straight away, like, if my kids aren't invited to a wedding, I'm not going. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care whether it's my brother, my best friend. Like, I'm very good at just doing what I want to do. But I think a lot of people don't. And I think you touched on something earlier in terms of social media. I think a lot of people do things because of social media, and I think out of all of them, it's probably one of the most popular. Instagram. I mean, we have it for the caring viewing. You know, that it wasn't something that I ever really wanted to go back, because I find Instagram the most toxic out of all of them. And I think TikTok, actually, you could have two accounts. The algorithm, the way the AI works, you could have one that is supporting you in your journey, because you're more likely to see that feed on your For You page than any of the others. But I do think you've got to firstly be aware, but you have got to learn the art of saying no. And I think a lot of people, I mean, Chris, you've probably got more experience with it, but I do think a lot of people would struggle with that if you aren't that kind of person in the first place.
Definitely, you know, and it's a very. I'm running a program at the moment, and the guys on that program, the next session which we're doing in January is going to be on setting healthy boundaries, and the reason for that is that they typically, if you're someone that does drink and struggles to say no and goes out and just joins in the fun come what may, often when you peel it back and you remove the mist of alcohol, you get it out of the way, you can often find that you are dealing with some people-pleasing traits, people that are seeking a bit of validation, you know, that sort of thing, and it's something you have to work on. So if that is part of your makeup, which isn't uncommon for at the generation I'm in, certainly if people have grown up with a traditional sort of relationship with their father, for example, that didn't tell them well done and they didn't get any praise and they didn't get told they were proud of them, then that often then materializes into these type of traits. So learning to set healthy boundaries and being able to say no is massively important, and probably that's almost I think that's one of the saviors of your bloody sanity. I do, being able to say no. Like the way you just spoke then, Mark, so that, well, if my kids aren't invited to the wedding, I don't care who you are, I ain't coming. Amazing, you know. There's a lot of people that would be dancing around like Billy-O sourcing the babysitters and all sorts, thinking, well, I've got to go, it's my brother's bloody wedding. A lot of people won't have that sort of firm mindset like what you've got there. That was quite interesting. The way you said that, I believe you, by the way. The way you said that, I thought, yeah, that's again, I think it probably ties into the fact that you're probably someone that class has got there's not a fortunate makeup. You've got a good makeup, you know, that helps you with some of the things we've been talking about tonight, you know. But yeah, healthy boundaries is a big one. learning to say no and being confident and comfortable in doing so. So when you get challenged to say you're boring, why don't you just have one drink? Come on, just have one, just have one. You just got the comfort and the self-assurance and the self-esteem to say, no, I'm not doing it because I'm doing this for me. And that's often, that's really hard for people initially, for a lot of people. And Adam's probably found that as well. It can be quite hard at the start. Once you get your head around, well, why am I doing this? I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my health. I'm doing it for well-being. I want to live a long life. I want to feel good. I want to be productive at work. I want to excel. I want to grow my career. I want to be a great dad. I want to be a fantastic partner, a brilliant husband and all of these things,
I mean, not to drag the conversation on further, because I really do need to close it off tonight. But you make a really, really interesting point there about when you're out with people and they go, have another drink, go on, have another drink. And I was also that person. So I would say to people, go on, have another drink, have another drink. And I recognized that was me because I didn't want to stop drinking. Why should everyone else stop drinking?
There you go.
Go and have a drink, because then I can have another drink, and that's great. Now that I'm sober and people are saying, oh, go on, have a drink. I can recognize now that actually I don't take that as an insult to me. And if they get angry about it, that's for them, because I know that they've got to get on that journey themselves. And I know there's probably a reason why they want me to have another drink. It's not so that I can feel better about myself, because it won't make me. It's probably for them to feel better about themselves. And I totally get that. There and then's probably not the situation to go, you only want me to have a drink so you can feel better about yourself, because challenge a drinker when they're drinking is not a good thing, especially when they're not ready to hear it. But if you do start to recognize these traits in friends, and you are that friend that is close to them, there is no harm in saying, do you want to go for a coffee one morning? And just having a conversation and just saying, look, please don't take this the wrong way, but I love you. I really care about you. I've started to notice this. And if they take it well, great. If they don't take it well, give them space and, revisit it at another time. Maybe don't revisit it until they're ready to revisit it. But it helps. It does help for someone to go, I've noticed this. I'm not judging you. There is no shame here. Continue doing what you want. Do you want to talk about it, though? Because sometimes they just need that life jacket thrown into them. They just need that ring thrown into them in this ocean of alcohol that they're drowning in, to go, oh, do you know what? I'm really glad you've asked. Do you know what? I recognize that now. And sometimes it's that moment that wakes you up for someone to go, I've noticed this. And you think, oh, actually, yeah. I'm going to count the bottles in my bin before I take it out on a Sunday night for the binman to collect, because it rattles quite a lot.
So I think that is what you've said is a really good point. I know we need to close this off in a second about that, but what you've just said is bang on. Is that now there's a flip side to what you've said. If you're confident and comfortable enough to go and pull a friend to one side, have a brew and just have a chat, great. Or if not, you will have done it, Adam. I know I've done it because people have messaged me. By choosing to take a break from alcohol for yourself, to be better, to improve and be better in business, better in life, just a better person. No good person can actually drag you down for that. And what you'll find is you will inspire others to make that sort of change. And I know for a fact I've done it. And I know for a fact you'll have done it, Adam. And I genuinely hope that off the back of this conversation, at least one person decides to go away and reflect and have a little go themselves as well. Because if that's just one person, that ripple effect will affect tens, hundreds, if not thousands. So I think the flip side is that, and I've seen this a lot, you will inspire people to say, do you know what? I can see a difference in him or her. I can see that they seem a bit more brighter. They seem a bit more energy. They seem a lot more. They seem happier. You talked about this, that their energy will have changed, and you'll inspire people. So yeah, and the tide's turning on this in the UK massively. The alcohol-free drinks market is unbelievably brilliant, so it gives you an option to have that instead of just
robbing bastards, though, aren't they? They are. Because I used to love a nightcap, so I quite like the Captain Morgan's alcohol-free because it's a nice sort of fruity, sort of spicy, cordial. And by the way, some people who have issues with alcohol can't touch the alcohol-free stuff, and I totally get that. It's not an answer for everyone. You have to go sober. You have to go sober from anything that even alludes to being alcohol, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
I'm fortunately not one of those people, but they charge you the same amount. Like they charge you. I went to a spa and I thought, I wonder if they do alcohol free. I went to Rick Stein's in Cornwall and I said, oh, I'll have a glass of that alcohol free Chardonnay, please. And it was £12 a glass for grape juice. For grape juice, £12. They're robbing Gates because they get that it's becoming the huge sort of thing now. Tonic water, just have a tonic water. I mean, come on, no one drinks gin and tonic for the taste of gin. They don't. You don't. Just have a tonic water. It's the same. It's really tasty. There's loads of good flavored tonics out there now. Look, Chris, tonight has been cathartic more than anything for myself. It's been it's like I've had a free session. I mean, your resultscoach.co.uk, I presume, is where people can find you.
Yeah, plenty of info on there. LinkedIn's a good place to find me, and what I'm on there every day, so LinkedIn's a good space to find me as well, as well as the website.
Well, honestly, thank you so much for coming on. Mark, this is the last show of Series 4. It's the last show of 2024. This is mad. When are we back next year, Mark?
When are we back? Well, don't get too excited. We've only got a few weeks off. We're back. I believe we're doing a pre-record on the 7th, but we're actually officially back on the 14th of January.
14th of January, quarter of a way through the century next year, which is absolutely bonkers. Look, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever your religious festive holidays are at this time of year, I hope you have a wonderful time. Keep those nearest and dearest close to you. Mark, I have to reiterate, you are one of the best friends that I have, and this journey has been difficult, and you've been there along the way. So I wish you a Merry Christmas.
Likewise, wish you a Merry Christmas too.
And I wish everyone a safe holiday. I'm hoping the new streaming that we've used tonight has worked and people have actually been able to see us, because we've just been talking for an hour and 20 minutes and I don't know. It always reminds me of like 2 years ago. Do you remember at Christmas time when we were doing, we did a show and we got everyone, well, not everyone, but we got a ton of people on who had been on throughout the year. And we had this massive conversation going. And we were talking for about 15 minutes. And I just got a text in the background from Mark going, we're not live. We are not live. And we started the show. We got all the good conversation going. We had to go live halfway through. We just got caught up in the festive feelings of it all. But we love it here at the Caring View. We only do what we do to support everyone out there working in social care. We can only do it through our fab sponsors. They have been running across the screen at the top, but we have got Prosperwell, prosperwell.co.uk. We have CBAT, so cbassociatetraining.co.uk. We have Attis Care by AttisInsuranceBrokers.com. We have Log My Care, quite an easy one this, it's just logmycare.co.uk. Health Automated, and we have got Enlearningment. Oh, it's a mouthful, that Jack, Enlearningment. Jack, the Enlearningment guy. I must tell him this. I find it really hard to say. Enlearningment. We've got Florence. And we also have UK Care Week, where are their banners, and UK Care Week as well. So a huge thank you to all of our sponsors this year who have helped keep the Caring View live and running. Thank you to everyone who's continued to join us every single Tuesday whilst we've gone live and has supported our website, our podcast, and our resources. We have sound effects now, which is incredible. But this is it. We are clocking off for the year. We are hanging up our Caring View hats. We are donning our Christmas jumpers. We're getting out the hot cocoa, settling in for the winter, and we will be back in January. So from myself, have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Have a good Christmas, everyone. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.